Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. Interpersonal relationship problems can be very traumatic. Interpersonal relationships with narcissists take trauma to extreme levels. The trauma sustained from narcissistic relationships is so impactful that it literally floods our inner being with survival programs that activate terror, horror, helplessness, and powerlessness. When we're crippled with these emotional states, it's virtually impossible to function, let alone access either the solutions or the ability to rebuild our life. In today's Thriver TV episode, I want to explore the 4 levels of trauma inflicted on us by narcissists, what it does to us, and the way to heal from this and resurrect our life. Because I promise you, in all these 4 levels of trauma inflicted by narcissists are 4 resurrections that will elevate and evolve your life in ways that will literally hand to you your true self and true life. But before we start this deep dive, I'd like to thank you for subscribing to my channel and for supporting the Thriver mission. And if you haven't yet subscribed, I would love to invite you to please do, as well as like this video and share it with others who could benefit. All right, let's get started. Level number 1 of trauma is reality is skewed. The first level of trauma inflicted by narcissists is that you start to lose grip on the truth. You don't know what is real or what isn't anymore. You want to believe in the good in people and you want to believe that what they're telling you is the truth. This person is looking you straight in the eye, possibly even telling you what you want to hear and what you want to believe in, yet the real life evidence that keeps emerging is the opposite. You want to believe this person, and if deeply enmeshed with a narcissist, your literal security and future, let alone emotional stability, probably depends on it. When we're trauma bonded to somebody, meaning staying attached even when our security, health, emotions, and emotional state are suffering, it means that you are now actively engaged in cognitive dissonance. And it means that you're having to come up with excuses and justifications in order to rationalize the emotional trauma that you're experiencing and why you're staying. This means, whilst ignoring your intuition, which is trying to warn you that things are unwholesome, unsavory, and unsafe, you may be telling yourself things like, I'm sure it'll all work out in time. Surely he or she isn't manipulating me. No matter what happens, I'm positive I can deal with it. Or all the other elaborate lies that we tell ourselves. I know myself, as well as so many others who ignored the painful inner screams of their intuition, did so at a very hefty price, especially where narcissists are concerned. Resurrection number 1 is becoming self-partnered brings truth and power. The Thriver message, recovery and healing path in all of this is to come home to yourself and be self-partnered to the level where you are healing your inner being, aligning with your intuition, starting to live in truth, backing your own values and healthy needs, regardless of what other people are doing. Many of us never really knew what that was until requiring Thriver recovery from narcissists. By turning inwards to meet and start releasing your wounds with complete self-love and self-devotion, powerfully creates you being self-partnered. To have the experience of discovering what being self-partnered really means, I'd love you to join me in my free webinar. If you haven't yet done it, I can't suggest it enough because you'll start feeling what self-partnered is. Okay, and you'll see the link to that with this video. Level number 2 is the feelings of betrayal are triggered. After being lied to by narcissists and horrifically abused by them, we feel deeply betrayed. And this is an incredible trauma activated within us that can even destroy our faith in interpersonal relationships altogether. This is a fracture to the very fabric of your inner being, which of course profoundly desires connection. Yet how can you risk connecting and letting somebody deeply into your inner world and emotions ever again? Maybe after being narcissistically abused and feeling soul raped at this level, you may feel it would be impossible to trust another human being again. I completely understand this because I used to feel like this too. Yet let's have a look at resurrection number 2, which is becoming a source to yourself. I want you to know though, with all of my heart, that there is a way to heal all of this. It starts with understanding one of the greatest lies that we've all been fed as human beings in regard to relationships. We believed that it was other people's responsibility to give us our own wholeness, meaning our own levels of love, approval, security, and survival. As children, this was very true. That was our parents' or guardians' job. Sadly, many of our adult caretakers were brought up in less than emotionally healthy environments, and they may never have been whole and healthy enough themselves to be able to effectively do that job. It's incredible to see in our world that the most important education of all, how to be a healthy, emotionally whole person, imparting and granting this essential human foundation to one's offspring, is not the #1 curriculum on this planet. It's not even a subject that's taught on this planet. Via narcissistic abuse, this make or break deal fractured our inner relationship with ourselves, as well as the ability to create healthy ones with others. Now we have the opportunity to wake up to the truth that recovery requires healing our relationship with ourselves to establish the love, approval, security, survival, wholeness, and capacity that we need to be for ourselves. Then we will no longer hold people responsible and cling to them as we did as children, trying to make these people grant us ourselves. I found personally, as well as in the lives of so many thrivers who have worked with NARP, that as a result of releasing our traumas and returning back to our true self state, we understand the greatest truth of all. Our levels of love, approval, security, and survival really have nothing to do with other people or whether or not they could betray us. All along, this was really about how we were betraying ourselves unknowingly by putting the generation of our truth, value, and our entire life into the hands of others. As of course we did as children when we had no choice in the matter. As adults, we do have a choice. We can heal and develop to fully take on this responsibility for ourselves. Then we know nobody can betray us unless we're betraying ourselves. Okay, so level number 3 is loss of resources. Narcissistic abuse is not just painful, it's usually materially incredibly expensive. The amount of money and resources that gets thrown away trying to survive these relationships is horrific. Narcissists are like a black hole that suck not just energy, health, and sanity, they also gobble up finances, literally. It's extremely common as a result of narcissistic abuse to lose much, if not everything, you've worked your whole life for up to that point. This happened to me, and it happens to more people than you could even imagine. Many people believe that this means that they'll never be able to rebuild and that their life will never be the same. It's understandable why people think like this because narcissistic abuse often happens to people in midlife and beyond. Naturally, if we've been very attached to achievement and accomplishments as our core identity, the trauma that we suffer through material loss is devastating. more than it just being an ego injury, it also may trigger within you the white hot terror of not believing that you're going to be able to survive. This was definitely the case for me. The horror was so bad, I thought I would die. Resurrection number 3 is truly valuing yourself. The necessary shift out of the trauma of all of this is to wake up to another profound truth, that the value of our soul is far greater than the perceived value of our accomplishments. Personally, I was never going to rebuild anything in my life if I didn't start from the bottom up, which was understanding that I was valuable and worthy as a human being as I was, regardless of what I did or didn't have. It wasn't until I was willing to love, approve, accept, and partner with myself, traumas, financial devastation and all, that life itself and all of the resources in life could begin to do so as well. The gift in my resurrection from shocking financial trauma was being able to finally anchor into the truth that I am safe and whole and flourished and nourished by all of life simply because I exist. In no way did healing my beliefs at this core level make me delusional or lazy or entitled. Rather, it allowed me the ability to feel inspired and flowing without fear, without the necessity to try to produce material wealth in order to feel worthy or as a requirement to survive. It also allowed me to accept opportunities, support, and abundance in droves from life itself, matching my newly established healthy belief systems. And finally, for the first time in my life, it allowed me to rebuild my life from a place of joy, purpose, and inspirational creation without conditions on the outcomes. Losing everything I had to finally heal my fractured survival beliefs was more than worth it. And the reason I'm sharing my profound personal soul experience with this is because I know, regardless of your survival struggles, exactly the same is true for you too. I have seen so many beautiful people in this community who statistically did not have the supposed qualifications and were not at what is considered to be a financially productive age start generating greater prosperity, abundance than they ever had previously, as a result of finally honouring their inner being first. Okay, so level number 4 is devastated health. It's beyond traumatic to suffer the health symptoms of narcissistic abuse, things like anxiety, depression, CPTSD, fibromyalgia, adrenal fatigue, and any of the emotional nervous systems and physical breakdowns that are all brought on by the horrific stress of abuse, and also from living non-aligned with our soul truth. Maybe as a capable, resourceful person with a previously very high tolerance to stress, you were shocked to discover that this time around, you couldn't just pick yourself up off the ground and get on with it. The effects of narcissistic abuse are like slamming into a brick wall. When life can no longer go on as normal, this is when things need to change. And the only thing that can change is the change that you make within yourself. I know for myself that I'd always been high functioning and treated my body like a machine to get things done, and certainly not as something to honour, connect with and love. Resurrection number 4, and I know you would have done the same. Resurrection number 4, release the trauma generating the symptoms. Sadly, traditional abuse recovery purports that certain nervous system conditions, such as PTSD, are conditions that we will have for life. Nothing is further from the truth. PTSD and other nervous system disorders are all symptoms of trauma accumulated in our inner being at the levels that are so extreme that parts of us break. However, when we turn inwards and release the trauma causing these conditions, then as the trauma goes, the condition heals. And often this happens very quickly. Like so many others, I was told I would never heal and recover from my abuse symptoms and would have to manage them for the rest of my life with antipsychotics. I know likewise there are many of you in this community who have had similar diagnoses and who are now living completely trauma-free and are thriving. Thank goodness, like those of us who didn't want to live a disintegrated life, I didn't accept that diagnosis, or I would never have self-partnered, turned inwards and freed myself from these inner traumas. Those of you thriving, you wouldn't have done it either. And we would never have realized the ability to continue doing the same for the rest of our lives on literally any topic that is generating any less than state. Many of us are now mentally and emotionally and physically the healthiest we've ever been. And that's definitely my experience now in my 50s than I've ever been in my entire life, even way before being abused. And I have the absolute joy of seeing so many of you in this community enjoying and shining your radiance as well. That's what I wish for all of us, and I wish it for you. Even if it feels like it's a million miles away for you right now. I wish for you the reality of profound, unprecedented healing from the inside out. Okay, so I hope that this episode has spoken to you. I know that these 4 levels of trauma are consistent virtually for everyone who's been narcissistically abused. If this did resonate with you and you want to resurrect your life and all these 4 areas in spectacular ways, then come with me by clicking the link at the top right of this video. And if you want to see more of my videos, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, click like and make sure you share it with others so that they can also wake up to the truth of how to heal for real. And as always, I look forward to answering your comments and your questions below. So, until next time, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.